President, please be seated. The court is now back in session. And the chamber again hands the floor to the defense team. You may proceed, counsel.
Thank you, Mr. President. Before I start, the defense teams have, I presume, 20 minutes extra to question the witness. However, I don't think that will be enough for the defense teams, Mr. President. So we are requesting to add on top of the 20 minutes that we have extra another 30 or 45 minutes so that we go into the morning to 10 o'clock.
President, don't you think it's excessive? In fact, parties have been informed that the combined time will be 2 sessions, and then the chamber granted the 20 additional minutes to the co-prosecutors and the lead co-lawyers, as the daily proceedings take about 15 minutes every morning. So for that reason, you will be given additional 20 minutes as the time that we granted to the co-prosecutors and the lead co-lawyers. Otherwise, the other party would seek additional time as you are seeking now. Is it possible for you to manage with the additional 20 minutes time allowance?
Well, if I really will use my time, Mr. President, I need another day, at least, with this witness. I believe we have a Miyasoka/Saisen situation here. But 20 minutes is really not enough. So I would really implore the chamber to grant the defense some more time. We're talking about a massive killing, and he's the only witness to this, and I think we should be entitled to be able to ask some more questions. With all respect, Mr. President.
President, the counsel, Goucher, you may proceed.
Oui, merci, Monsieur le
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. I have conferred with my colleague, and indeed, we will have a hard time completing our testimony, our examination today. I would like the chamber to work on the basis that we should be given the same time as the co-prosecutors. I have a problem with the health status of my client, nevertheless, because if we need additional time, we would request that we should continue tomorrow morning instead of keeping my client waiting after the time when we are supposed to stop the proceedings. To do this, to extend the proceedings twice a day would be too much. I wanted to bring this to your attention.
President, Deputy Co-Prosecutor, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. We certainly don't have any objection if the court deems it appropriate to give a few extra minutes to the defense. What I do object to is counsel's repeated attempt to characterize witnesses, to make comments about witnesses, and I would ask that if he receives additional time, perhaps he should not pursue these repetitive lines of questioning we've heard. But if the chamber considers it appropriate, we don't have any objection to you granting a few additional minutes to what were granted to us.
President, the floor is now given to the defense teams, and the observation made by the deputy co-prosecutor is appropriate. So, counsel for the defense, please use the time wisely, and don't attempt to ask questions which are not related to the subject matter.
Mr. Witness, you were speaking about Rin and the arrest of Rin. Rin was, you said, one of the charms in this group of 200 to 300. You also said that you were in the palm tree when Rin was arrested. Did I understand that correctly?
I actually disagreed with your characterization of my previous statement. I did not say I was in the clam tree as you put it.
Then I misunderstood. Where were you when Rin was arrested?
When Rin was arrested, and I think I already responded to that question. And to me, honestly, it seems that you asked me many repetitive questions. And I was there near the house of Rin when he was arrested, and I actually responded to that question already.
And did Rin join the group of people who already had been arrested, or was he the first of the 200 to 300 people who got arrested?
Rin was amongst those Cham people who were arrested. He was there from 6 to 8 p.m. amongst the Cham people from the village.
I'm not talking about the end of the day, Mr. Witness. I'm talking about the moment that Rin, one of the people you said you know, got arrested. Did he join the group of 200 to 300 Cham, or was he part of a mass arrest? Can you explain to me what happened when Rin got arrested?
It is difficult for me to respond to that question. I have already testified that the arrest of the Cham people took place almost simultaneously. All the Cham people were subject of being arrested starting from 6 o'clock that day.
But how did that go about then? Were microphones being used, or speakers, I mean, sorry, or how did the arrests of people like Rin go about? How did it go?
They did not use any means, as you just put it. The Cham people were not aware of the arrest, and the people in the village also did not know. Only those who lived near the target area, that is near the main road, were aware of the arrest. But not everybody in the entire village. And only next morning did they learn that the Cham people had all been arrested.
Well, let me read to you what you told the prosecution, and maybe that will refresh your memory, Mr. Witness. Mr. President, document E3/5302, English ERN 002104888, French 006239191, and Khmer 006351761. The number of Cham arrested in my commune was about 300 people. I was asked to lead 200 to 300 Cham and walk them to the Otrakun temple. Female Cham people were just walked. the Cham men were handcuffed and beaten. I was one of the 2 people leading the group, and there were another 2 people guarding the back. The 4 of us were palm tree climbers. When we arrived at the temple, security guards and executioners were there to take the Cham people. Now, Mr. Witness, that to me is a clear statement. You were involved in the arrest and the bringing of this group of 300 Cham from their houses to the security center. Isn't that correct?
When I spoke about the people being cuffed, I did not mean the handcuff, but I meant the shackled when they were in the temple. The side walls of the temple were having holes where they inserted the metal bar to shackle the detainees, and they would lock the end side of the metal bar. No handcuffs were used during the regime. So when you mention handcuffs to me, that was not my intention. I refer to the shackles and not the handcuff. And of course, I stay true to my conscience that what I saw were shackles but not handcuffs. I am not here to accuse anyone. I am here as a witness to testify before this court, so the court can actually find who the killers of the Cham people are or were.
Fine, no handcuffs, but were you... Let me rephrase. Is your statement at least correct that your group of 4 palm tree climbers were in charge of walking the group of 200 to 300 Cham to the security center? 2 front, 2 in the back. Is that the case?
In our climbing group, there were 4 of us, and we were instructed to accompany different groups. As I told you, the Cham families were desecrated to live mixed with the Khmer people. So we, the 4 climbers, the 4 palm tree climbers, were assigned to attach to different groups. And if my recollection is correct, I was with another climber at the time. And there were many people at the time when this event took place, and I could not say whether I was with another climber or not. There was no proper lighting, and everything depended on moonlight. And the targets of the Cham people were to gather from the west and the east directions. In the end, they would be gathered up at the entrance to the gates to the pagoda before they were laid inside the compound.
How long did the march last? How long did the walk of these 200 to 300 people last? Was it half hour, 1 hour? Where were they assembled? Can you give us some more details, please?
As for the duration, to walk those people, the Cham people, to the pagoda, it didn't take that long. The distance was 341 meters to be precise, from the location of the arrest to the pagoda, and it took only about 10 minutes.
And what was at 341 meters from the pagoda? What exactly was it? What was there?
It was the distance where the Cham people were gathered up before they actually make a trip through the pagoda. In fact, at that time, I did not know the distance. However, after the collapse of the regime and the new road was built, the exact distance was 341 meters from the location of the gathering to the pagoda, and it took only 10 minutes to walk.
And how did the Cham people get at the location of this gathering? How did they get there?
Actually, they walked. That was the only means for the Cham people to walk. The people from the work sites were arrested on site and were put on horse carts and brought into the gathering point. But for the Cham people living in the village, they were walked to the gathering point.
And why was it that the 4 palm tree climbers were asked to lead this group from the gathering point to the pagoda?
I think I already responded to your question. We had no idea when we were asked to go with them. We were not told what to do. And only when we saw the Cham people being brought to the gathering point, then we realized what happened. They didn't let us know what happened, maybe because they were concerned that we would go and tell the Cham people to go away or to run. For that reason, they did not tell us anything.
Let me just read to you what we written down before the break about Rin. You said Rin was a Cham person. He was within the fisher folk group. Cham persons would be included in the fishing group together with Khmer people. He was on the boat. You were on the boat with Rin. While Rin was being arrested, you were assigned, you said, to climb the sugar palm tree. That's how we heard it in the English translation. So is that correct or false? Did you see Rin's arrest, or did you only see him at the gathering point?
Of course, that is correct. What I said is that Rin used to go fishing with me, as true Khmer people would go with a Cham person, as that Cham person was skillful in fishing. And later on, I was reassigned to climb palm trees. But I knew him very well. And when he got fish, he would take the fish to the kitchen hall, and usually I met him there.
I don't follow you, Mr. Witness, but let me move on to the next topic. Is it correct that at the meeting that you heard An speak, that he didn't speak about Chams? Is that your testimony to the investigators of the investigating judge?
As for Ans, the new sector chief, and as I told the co-investigating judge, and came to chair a meeting at the Otakun Pagoda, and actually and incited the people there to raise their complaint or objection regarding those chiefs who did not allow them to eat sufficient food or to consume vegetable that they planted at their respective houses. And people in my village were happy to hear that.
My question, sorry to interrupt you, Mr. Witness, was did he speak about charm, or did he not mention the word charm at all during that speech he gave?
And did not mention anything about the Cham people. He spoke at length about the arrest of the former cadres who were accused of betraying Angka. He did not touch upon the issue of the Cham people. And of course, Cham people also attended the meeting.
And what exactly did he say about traitors in the North Zone? What did these people betray? What did they have betrayed? What did they do? What had they done? Did he give any explanation as to the cadres in the North Zone who were arrested?
On the issue of the arrest of the so-called traitors, they did not, of course, tell us the reasons for the arrest. What was the need for that? We were ordinary civilians, and the announcement they made was about the arrest of those former cadres since they were betraying Angka and they were betraying the revolution, and they did not give us any specific reasons for the betrayal. And of course, people did not dare to ask any follow-up questions.
Have you ever heard whether men or women who happened to be Cham were also accused of being a traitor or being accused of being involved in a rebellion or in other forms of treason?
When you spoke about the announcement that Cham people were traitor, I didn't hear it. However, some people said Cham people were arrested because they were concerned that Cham people would involved in a revolt. But I never heard this statement from the Khmer Rouge cadres myself.
And what you did hear about the revolt, was that the same revolt that the North Zone cadres were involved in? In other words, did you hear Cham being involved in conspiring to commit treason together with the North Zone cadres?
The Cham people who lived in my area, and allow me to clarify the matter, I did not know whether the Cham people involved in any revolt. And the same thing applies to the cadres who were arrested. I did not know the mistake they made or whether they involved in any revolt.
So in other words, you don't know the reason for the arrests of the Cham that you described today. Is that correct?
I do. However, this does not apply to any individual Cham person. The Pol Pot regime was a genocidal regime, so any other races would be considered enemies of the Khmer people, including the Cham people, the Chinese people, and the new people, the one who were liberated in 1975.
At the time, Mr. Witness, had you ever heard of a Cham rebellion just across the other side of the Mekong River in September, October 1975?
Yes, I have just stated the information we learned at the time, that is during the Pol Pot regime, was very limited, and forget about the information from the other side of the river. Even the information across the villages within the commune was very limited. And even within the village itself, the information was limited, since we were not allowed to walk anywhere freely. And my response to your question, therefore, is that I did not hear about that event.
Do you know whether any of the 200 to 300 Cham you said you saw were living were living before in the east zone, in villages like Ampil or Kopal? Do you know if that is the case?
From my personal observation, the Cham people who lived in the Piem Chikong commune were the original Cham people who had lived there, and not from other parts of the country or province, for example, not from Kopal. And of course, there could be movement of the Cham people here and there within the same locations due to marriage, for example, but I don't believe the Cham people crossing the river from the other side to come to settle in my area.
How far is it from Kopal to Wat Otrok?
President, Council, please repeat your last question. You're a little bit too fast for the interpreter.
Sorry, Mr. President. How far is it, do you know, between Kopal and Wat Otrokun?
It is difficult to answer, because when I lived there, I don't even know where Kopal was.
Last topic. I'll be quick. You said, Mr. Witness, that Moon had also told you he had been involved in killings before February 75. Is that correct?
President, please hold on, Mr. Witness. You may now proceed. International Deputy Co-Prosecutor.
I don't have any objection to counsel clarifying this, but an observation, I don't recall any such testimony about killings prior to February 1975.
I'm sure I read it somewhere. He testified as to the killing of 17 April people, new people, all before February 75. I'm also quite convinced that I read somewhere that he said Moon told him that Moon was involved. But to speed up things, I can ask it in an open way. Mr. Witness, did Moon tell you whether he was involved in killings before February 75, before the Southwest Zone cadres came?
Perhaps, do you mean February 1977?
Sorry, yeah, February 77, slip of the tongue, I apologize. Do you know whether, or did Moon tell you he was involved in killings before February 77?
Answer. I told the court already that Moon and I were close to one another. We were working close by, so he would confide in me what he knew. Concerning the event before 1975, I have no idea. Before that time, there were no incidents happening in the Otokun Pagoda. Later on, in 1976 or 77, something happened. Moon was close to me, and the relationship became even better in 1977 when we were working close by, climbing the sugar palm tree. He would tell me almost everything happened in Otokun Pagoda. It was not fact about the truth. And it is true what he said. If Cham people were not killed, where had they gone the day after? So it's what he said collaborated with the situation. And later on, after 1975, we went to visit the grave pits, and there were remains within those pits.
But my question was, Mr. Witness, did Moon tell you whether he was involved in any killings before An, Han, and Khan came? Did he have any position as security guard in Wat Otrongkong? Can you tell us something about that?
Answer. Before Horn came to take responsibility, he was members of a security force unit. Before, Moon was living in Kchau village in the same Sambomir. He did not tell me about his involvement in the killing, so I learned of the information about the events happening after late 1976 and 1977.
For the record, Mr. President, I still have many questions to ask, but I think my time is up.
President, thank you. You may now proceed, counsel for Mr. Kirstenpong.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good afternoon to all of you. Good afternoon, Mr. Singh Thrung. I am Antagise. I am the co-international counsel of Mr. Kirstenpong, and I'm going to put to you a few extra questions. My first question, you said when you answered the co-prosecutor that you were in Sector 30 of the North Zone. So do you remember if the North Zone ever changed names during the DK regime?
No. Answer. During the Democratic Cambodia, the name was not changed. However, I do not know whether the name was changed after 1979. I only know that it was within Zone 304, and I at the time was living in Sector 30.
Again, when you were answering the co-prosecutor, you said that when you came back to your village of Sakso in 1976 after having served in the army, you were arrested. So can you tell us who arrested you?
Answer: I do not know who arrested. I do not know where the orders from the militiamen in the commune and Sangkat came to arrest me. It was Samrat Mui who came to arrest me at the time because he was the militiaman within Sangkat.
Est-ce que vous...
Do you know what his position was exactly within that militia?
Answer: I cannot assume or tell you his exact position at that time. Within PM Chikong district, he was the one who was responsible for arresting. I cannot tell you his actual position. He was involved in this task from 1974 and 1975. He was engaged in arresting new people and 17 April people. People from Kandal or from other places were arrested and killed. At that time, there was no security office, and these people were killed in a lycée behind the pagoda, and that lycée is now known as Hun San High School.
You said that you returned to your village in 1976, so I'm not speaking about 74 or about 75. I'm speaking to you about 1976 and the years that followed. So can you confirm that it is Samit Mui who arrested you in 1976?
Answer: yes. It was Samrat Mui who went to arrest me. However, I do not know where the order of the arrest came from. He was the one who arrested me. I know many people within the security units. There were Striang, there were Striang and Mui and others who were members of security guard unit.
Je reviendrai.
I will get back later to the makeup of that group, but I would like to know, in 1976, what position did your father have in PM Chikrong commune?
Answer: in 1976, my father held no position. Before then, in 1971 to 1975, he held a position. After 1975, he was removed from his position. And my father had no position after 1975.
So, what position did your father hold between 71 and 1976?
ពី71ដល់75
Answer. Between 1971 to 1975, my father was Sangkat chief. He supervised villagers within his Sangkat. He had overall supervision over people. He assisted new people who were the target of mistreatment and killing. He informed those villagers in advance. Because of his good deeds, I mean, he informed villagers in advance of what was going to happen to those villagers, and because of this, he was removed from the position in 1975.
Je vous pose ces
I'm putting these questions to you about these dates because in your statement document E3/1692, French ERN 00337424, English ERN 00242086, Khmer ERN 00218552-53, you speak about your arrest in 1976 and you say the following: I was lucky. I was released. And I thought, however, that it was thanks to my father who was in charge of the Sangkat and Pimchikang commune. End of quote, free translation. So my question is the following. Do you think yes or no that you were released thanks to your father's position?
President, please wait. Mr. Witness, you may now proceed. Co-prosecutor.
I'm not sure if it's just a translation issue, but in the English version of this, it says that his father was formerly in this position. I don't know if that's missing from the French, but it should be clear that he was talking about a former position of his father.
Effectivement,
Yes, indeed, it's probably a translation issue because I read exactly what I have in French, but the witness can answer. So, is it because of the former position of your father that you were released?
Answer. Perhaps it is true. The new cadres who had just come to replace the former cadres were living close to my house. And perhaps my father had a good relationship with those new cadres. I was released, and the release did not happen only to me, but on two other individuals, and perhaps because of his service in the front, that is why I was released.
est-ce que vous pouvez...
Can you tell us who replaced your father in 1976 as the Sangkat chief?
Answer. The one who replaced the position of my father was an individual by the name Run. Run passed away already. Strain later came to take control as a cadre. And Run came to replace my father, and his revolution name was Samrat at that time.
in 1976 still, who was the security chief in PM Chikrang commune?
Answer. Security chief at the PMG Kong were different people. There was Mui, and later on Nam was the chief in 1976. Later on, Nam was reassigned to be sector chief in Go. And Ao was the militia chief later on. And as for Mui and the individual I have just mentioned, I do not know who was chief and who was the deputy. I heard that militia chief had broad authority and power. And as I told you, Nam was reassigned to be security chief at Go.
Je voudrais
I would like some clarification regarding this militia and the period you speak about. You said 1976 when you were arrested, Samrit Mui was in the militia, and I also understood that you did not know who was the deputy or who was the chief between Nam and Mui. So can you tell us at least which period you're speaking about here? Are you speaking about 1976, 1977, 1978, or even 1979? When you tell us you do not know who the chief was and who the deputy was, can you be a bit more specific with regard to the time, to the period?
Answer. I was referring to the year 1976. In early 1976, these people were still in their positions. At that time, former Sangkat chief had been arrested, and Teng became one of the Sangkat chief.
You said to the co-prosecutor, or you spoke about two groups, and I'm going to ask you to be a bit more specific about this. You spoke about the commune militia, and you spoke about the Long Sword group. So can you tell me if Nam and Mui were part of the Long Sword group at one point or in time?
Answer. Well, Mui's group or Long Sword group had different responsibilities. For the Long Sword group, as I told the chamber, was tasked to bring in the people who had been arrested. For example, new people at the work site were arrested. When 5 or 6 people were arrested at the work site, the members of Long Sword group would be told to bring in those 5 or 6 people. And commune militia were responsible for things within the commune. These are the responsibility for the two groups.
So I understand from what you're saying that Samrit Mui was a member of the Long Sword group. Am I correct?
Answer. No, he was not part of Long Sword group. He was a member within a commune militia.
Et est-ce que vous...
And do you know from when to when?
Answer. From what I know, he was in that position from 1973 up to 1979, after which he did not dare to live within his home village. He then escaped to Chamkalu.
You say that he held that position from 73 to 1979. So did you see him personally in his duties as a commune militiaman all up until 1979?
Answer. Let me clarify. I am not speaking for the sake of speaking to denounce one individual or to defame one individual. As a witness, I am speaking only the truth, what I have known and experienced. I have been living in Cambodia since I was 1 year old. And from that time until now, it has been 65 years. So I am telling you what I have known. I saw Moi, and I witnessed the arrests of former cadres and the arrival of the new cadres until 1979, after which I also fled the area with others.
Monsieur le témoin,
Witness, I apologize, but I don't have much time, so I'm trying to put to you short questions. So please provide me with short answers. So I understand from your answer that you saw Samrat Mui as a militiaman until 1979. You can just say yes or no, that's fine with me.
But man.
Answer. Yes, that is true.
So you draw a distinction between the commune militiamen and the group of the long swords. So can you tell me who was part of the long sword group?
Answer. I have known members of that group, but I cannot recall all the names. Ryuk Choi. Nowadays, he is my brother-in-law. Tai Kum Hwan is the members of Pagoda Committee, mainly Hein Pa, Yuan, I do not know his surname, and an individual living at Koh perhaps he passed away already. I can tell you that there were 9 of them within that longsword group.
I will get back to how the group was made up a little bit more specifically later, but can you tell me the day when the Cham were arrested, the Cham that were led to the pagoda, were the long sword people present when the Cham were being arrested?
Answer. When the arrests were made against Cham people, it was the longsword group who, did the arrests.
And the 9 people or in any case, the people that you mentioned among the 9 who, according to you, made up the Longsword group, were these 9 people present? That is to say, Choi, Tai Kim Hoon, Mui Lee, etc.
When the arrests were taking place, all members within that long group were present. They were divided in 2 groups. One was conducting the arrest at Sambumias A, and another group was conducting arrests at Sacho and Antung So.
Il est exact.
So it's true, therefore, that this group would carry out arrests throughout the entire Pim Chikrong commune.
Answer. This group went around and arrested the prisoners. The arrests would happen only when there were plans, and this group would go to work site to conduct the arrests as well. And for the arrests within the commune, it would happen once in a while.
Si j'ai bien compris.
So if I understood your testimony properly this morning, you told me that the Longsword group was set up at the end of 1976 or the beginning of 1977. Is that so?
Answer, yes, that is true.
And these 9 people who made up this Longsword group, did these 9 people all come from the East Zone? Did they all come from Pim Chikrong commune?
Answer. This newly created Longsword group, members of this group were from Jikong commune. They were villagers in the Jikong commune.
And do you know who set up this unit, this Longsword unit?
Answer. In fact, the newly created Longsword group did not exist yet before the arrival of the Southwest Zone cadres. Piep, who was the deputy of the district and wife of Kant, was representing the commune, and Kant was a cadre who was in charge of the commune, and they was talking about full rights members and other terms, but I do not really understand at all about those terms.
Mr. President, I see that it's 4 o'clock, so I can tell the chamber that it's not going to be possible for me to finish with my cross-examination, even with a few extra minutes. Of course, I want to make sure that the staff will not miss the bus, but therefore I'm requesting the possibility to finish tomorrow morning, keeping in mind, of course, my client's concerns, which I spoke to you about earlier.
President, thank you very much. The chamber will consider granting you an additional 20 minutes tomorrow. The hearing today comes to an adjournment. The chamber will adjourn its hearing today and will resume tomorrow. at 9 a.m. The chamber will continue to hear the testimony of Singh Srun, and the chamber will give the floor to the defense team for Mr. Kyu Sompon, after which we will hear 2 TCW 883. Please be informed. Thank you, Mr. Srun. The hearing of your testimony as a witness has not come to a conclusion yet. You are therefore invited to be here once again tomorrow at 9 a.m. Court officer, in collaboration with Westsu, please send Mr. Singh Srun and the reserve witness to TCW 883 to the place where they are staying at the moment, and please invite them back into the courtroom tomorrow at 9 a.m. Security personnel are instructed to bring Mr. Kyu Sompon and Nuon Chia back to the detention facility of the ECC and have them returned tomorrow before 9 a.m. The court is now adjourned.